Morning! This is Philosophy Bites, and we're going to be talking today about the philosopher Socrates, the life and death and execution of the famous Socrates, who lived in Greece in around about 500 BC-ish, a bit earlier, later than that maybe. I'm not sure, you can Google it on Wikipedia. So, Socrates lived until he was about 70, and was very famous, kind of scruffy kind of guy, odd looking apparently, wandering around Athens, talking to people, like in the square, the very famous square in Athens. This is like back in the day when Athens was obviously an incredibly important classical civilization, and there's this thing called the Delphic Oracle, and the Delphic Oracle is north of Athens, and it is run by these kind of hippie, trippy priestesses who made predictions about wars to rulers. The rulers would consult the Delphic Oracle because they believed in it so much. Are we going to win today? And they would come back with a statement, a bit like a horoscope, where they would say, well, they give something really ambiguous, and they would like lose the battle, and then they would come back to the oracle and say, well, you told us we were going to win. No, you interpreted the prophecy wrongly. But the Delphic Oracle, the priestesses said that Socrates was the wisest man in Athens. Now, instead of getting all cocky about it, Socrates has decided to question that. Is this true? And he went around the square in Athens, and he questioned a group of people, maybe sort of philosophers, some of them kind of, called sophists. And the sophists would get up in Athens and they would talk about subjects, any subject, science, art, and they would say, I know all about this, I can tell you all about this, blah, 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 blah. They would preach and they would give their views, but they wouldn't maybe give a balanced argument. And they were paid for what they did, whereas Socrates wasn't even paid. Socrates walks around, and instead of telling people exactly what he thought, he would ask them, first of all, what they thought. And he would say, what do you think about this subject, about God, or blah, blah, blah? And they would say, well, I think this. X, I think X. Socrates would say, well, if you think X, you must also... What else do you believe? I believe this, Socrates. So, okay, and he says, if you believe X, you must also believe Y. Yes, Socrates. But if you believe Y, you must also believe Z. Yes, Socrates. But wait a minute, what you said here contradicts what you said at the start. And people would get all confused and they'd be like, "Oh, Socrates, you're hurting my head. I don't understand." This is called the Socratic method, to force somebody to contradict themselves in an argument. If you do critical thinking A-level, you can do argument flaws, and one argument flaw is called ad hominem in Latin, I think that is. It means to the man, and it means attacking a politician's character, their person, to the man, rather than their policies. So that politician has committed adultery, like Bill Clinton or whatever, has committed adultery. Therefore, he is wrong, he's evil. You're disassociating the actions from the person. So, back to Socrates. So, he used this Socratic method, and he was quite dangerous because he pissed a lot of people off. Well, he forced them to contradict themselves and made them look like fools. So, he was charged, as a democracy, he was charged with corrupting the young, their minds, not their bodies, really. He was into like questioning the young and asking them questions about stuff. And the second charge was heresy, basically denial of the ancient Greek gods like Zeus, etc. All the Greek gods. I think Socrates believes in one god. So he goes to court and he's on trial. We know about this because it's recorded by Plato in the Latter Days of Socrates, an amazing book that I would highly recommend You can get it off Amazon, no problem. Amazing. That was my introduction to philosophy, really, at Glasgow University. And so Socrates is on trial, and they ask him to kind of defend himself, which he did. He said, I've always been an Athenian citizen, so I will accept whatever laws or punishments you give to me, because I've benefited from being an Athenian citizen in this democracy. However, I think that what I've been doing is good for the community, and I should be given a pension, a reward. And this outraged his accusers, who were like, what the F? What the F? Socrates is unbelievably taking the piss here. You know what I mean? So, unfortunately, Socrates was charged and was given the death penalty. Now, I think a lot of them thought that it would just be a bit of a joke and Socrates would just bribe the guards and escape. But Socrates didn't want to do that. He said, no, I'm not going to try and escape, because I accept your punishments for reasons I just gave before. So he was surrounded by other philosophers on his deathbed. And there's a very famous painting of it. I can't remember what it's called, but just Google painting of Socrates, and it has him lying on his bed, pointing up at the sky, basically pointing beyond the world of the senses to an external reality that's out there. Because Socrates persuades the other philosophers, he consoles them by arguing on his deathbed, arguing that there is life after death, and that he does have a soul, and it's nothing to worry about. So he uses philosophy to actually console his friends. Plato wasn't there at Socrates' death because he was too upset, but he records it all in dialogues. And so Socrates drinks the hemlock, and gradually the poison, he was talking, and the poison made its way up his body from his legs. His legs were numb first, and then his midriff, and so on, until again eventually he passed away. Nowadays he's seen as the founder of Western philosophy. So he has a huge influence over Plato, Aristotle, all these Greek philosophers that came later. Was hugely respected and admired, and is seen as a martyr for philosophy. He died for the truth. He was prepared to put his life on the line for what he thought was right. Amazing character, and I hope you found this philosophy bite useful or interesting. If you like it, please post a like or subscribe, because I'm going to try and do more philosophy bites to help students of philosophy, A-level students, to help students at school doing RE projects, anything really. God bless. All the best.